Welcome to another video. This isn't going to be so much as a tutorial as it is just going to be a hopefully helpful video to help those who are encountering issues opening their projects. This can happen sometimes, and I've encountered a couple of people on the Discord who have had trouble opening their projects, and I've been able to restore those projects for them. So I wanted in this video to talk about the most common issue that seems to be happening with projects that don't open, explain what the problem is and how to fix the problem so you can get your projects open. And then after that, I want to talk about ways you can sort of diagnose what might be a larger problem if this solution isn't the one that works. If it's a bigger problem, we can talk about how to other ways that you could sort of restore your projects back to working order. Now, before we go into any of the sort of technique stuff, I want to just quickly talk about the important thing to understand with RPG in a Box projects. So, obviously, it's a very scary thing to have happen. If you put a lot of work into a project and then you turn your computer on one day and you try to open your project and for whatever reason it doesn't open, whether it be an error message or it just doesn't do anything, or RPG in a Box closes the moment you try and open a project, it can be very scary, the prospect that you've lost all that work that you've put time and effort into. So the first thing I want to make abundantly clear in this video is don't panic. You have not lost all your work, because the great thing about RPG in a Box is that your work is saved as separate assets. Okay, the only thing you can't open currently is the project file itself, the thing that sort of pulls all those things together and presents them in the program. That's the only thing we need to fix. You have not lost all your work. Now, the reason why the project might not be opening could be a very simple fix, which we'll get to in a moment, or it could be that there is one map or one module or something that is slightly, has corrupted or something. So you might lose a couple of assets at worst, but you won't have lost your entire project. So the important thing to remember, and I'm just going to go to my file system. Now, just in case this sort of looks odd to you, I'm doing this on a Steam Deck, so that's why it sort of looks like it does. But in essence, the principle is the same, whether it's Windows, Mac, or Linux in this case. You go to your file explorer, your Windows Explorer type thing, and wherever you save your projects, so this is, for example, where I'm saving mine into a Documents RIAB folder, RPG in a Box folder. I have these two folders here, Quick Game and Second Game. These are the two projects that I've got currently on this machine. And inside each project folder, you have folders for each of your assets. So there's my characters folder, and in there is my character models. Go back one, I've got a dialogues folder. There's my dialogues, etc., etc., etc. So everything you do in RPG in a Box is still saved. So you've got them here, okay? The only thing we need to fix is why the project, for whatever reason, isn't opening. It could be a bad file, or it could just be a very simple fix. And I'm going to show you one of those right now. This seems to be the most common culprit that tends to happen. I'm not sure why this happens. The common thread that I found, but it's not big enough to sort of say this is definitively why it's happening, but the two projects that I fixed were both saved on the desktop. So whether that's kind of an issue, it might be worth mentioning at this stage that if you are saving your projects into sort of areas of the computer which aren't necessarily the best for storing files in, like the C drive, just generally because it's the operating system drive, you might want to try just ensuring that your files are tucked away somewhere on a separate drive to the operating system so that the computer itself can't accidentally make changes or remove files that it shouldn't, okay? So bear that in mind as well. The desktop should really be fine, but, I have had to fix this twice with people who separately saved it onto their desktops. So if you're currently got your project on the desktop, you might want to consider moving it before anything happens. So let's quickly talk about the most common issue that I've found, and it's this one here. So I've got two projects at the moment. You saw in the folder that I've got two projects, quick game and second game. Now, if you look at the list, I've got a quick game project here that I could open. And I've also got something called Untitled. What's that? That's actually the second game. But unfortunately, it's lost information about it. It's now coming up as Untitled. And if I try and open it, it won't open. So if you're encountering this exact problem, this is what we're going to talk about right now. How to fix this, why this happens, and how you can get your project open again. So if we look at quick game, I can open that fine. I can see my, go to my recent maps. I can open a map. And there it is. I'm, back working on my project. But if I exit to Game Manager and I try and open my second game, it won't open. So first of all, why is that happening? It's happening because if you go to your folder, so this one's fine, so we don't need to worry about that one. But if we go to the folder, the project folder that we can't open, go into that and look for the file game.cfg. It's going to be located just right inside the folder name of your project. Okay, so find your project. If you don't know where projects are, then here's a quick, easy way of finding them. If you have access to a project that you can open, this will help you find it. Open the project that you can open, and then just find something, in this case a map, in the Explorer on the left-hand side. Click it, then right-click and choose Open File Location, and it will open Explorer and show you that file. So here it is here, and this is where it's located. So in this case, Documents, RIB, Quick Game Maps. So now what I can do is I can jump back out to the main folder, and now I can see my second folder. So if you didn't know where you've been saving your files to, that's another way you can find it. As long as you've been saving your projects to the same place, then they'll be right next to one another. Okay, so you just find one and then jump back a couple of steps in your Explorer and you'll find your folder. Another way is to just do a file search for game.cfg, and that should point you to any place that's got a game.cfg, and one of those will be your project. But either way, you need to find this file, game.cfg, and if we open this up, we can see it's completely blank. This is why projects don't open. Okay, so check this first. Go to your project folder that won't open this file and see if it's empty. If it's empty, it's not going to open. It needs things in it in order to be able to open. So now if that's the case, you've diagnosed why your project isn't opening. How do we get it open? How do we fix this? There's two ways of fixing it. One way is if you have access to a project that does work. In my case, I do, because I can jump back out to this folder and I've got a quick game folder. And if I open this game.cfg, we can see it's got stuff in it. So great, I can use this file here. So all you do is you copy that file, jump back to your problem project and paste it over the top of your blank game.cfg. Then open this up again, and you'll need to make some changes to this because this is obviously all the information in here is relevant to the other project. We now need to just make some changes here to make it relevant to the one that won't open. So this is not called quick game, this is called second game. So I need to change that back to what the project should be called. It's a good idea I just like to do this just in case I'm using, you probably will be if it's a completely separate project, you'll have different models and startup scripts. So I just like to clear out, just by deleting everything in between the speech marks, I like to clear out everything that's in the startup script and the player character. You can set those up when you get your project open. So just blank those out for the moment. You'll have recent items. Now this would normally be bigger than this if you've been, opening and editing a lot of things. Just make sure everything within the square brackets is gone. So in other words, leave it like that. If you've got any camera settings, you could change them from here, but otherwise you can change them within the program itself. That would be easier if you're not sort of that confident editing a text file. Obviously, it goes without saying that whatever camera settings you're using in one project, because we're using the same game.cfg, those camera settings will copy across. So you will need to set your second project's camera settings back up again. And then the other thing that you need to be aware of is that if you have any global properties and any global event scripts, they will unfortunately be gone. So you will need to set those up again. But because your scripts will still be fine, they won't have been deleted. You can go and look at your scripts once you can get back into your project and remind yourself what global properties you're using, and then you can reset them up. You do have to do a little bit of work, unfortunately, but compared to remaking all your models and remaking all your maps, just resetting a couple of settings back up once you're back in the program, that's the lesser of the two evils, right? So if we now save this game.cfg file, close this, and we go back to RPG in a Box. If I now exit back to Game Manager, we can see that second game has appeared again, which is good. That's what it should be. And now if I click open, it opens again, and I can go, for example, to maps, and I can open up the overworld, and there's my project. Well, technically it's the example game project, but you get the idea. If this was a project I'm working on, I'm now back working on it. It's always a good idea, if possible. I don't know if you can in this program. You can't actually do it from the program, so I would do it in the File Explorer. Make backup copies of your folder. So what I might do is just make a copy of this, paste it next to it, and we'll call it copy or backup or something like that. And in that way, if one project was to go crazy, you've got a copy that you can restore. Yeah. Generally, it's always a good idea to keep backups. So that hopefully has helped if that's your problem. If you're finding your projects aren't opening and the problem is when you go to game.cfg, it's empty, that's a quick fix. However, what do you do if you don't have a second project folder? You just have a blank game.cfg and there's no other game.cfg file you can use to fix it. So let's go back to second game and let's delete it again. So let's highlight everything, delete it, and save it. And we'll open RPG in a Box again. Now, because I have deleted the game.cfg, it might also not be in the list anymore. Let's have a quick look. This could also be another issue. Now, sometimes it's not in the list, sometimes it's untitled. Either way, if it's not in the list, what you would do is you click open an existing game, you would browse to where you've saved the project, so in my case documents, RIB, second game, and then you'd find the game.cfg, and then you'd click open. But again, because the game.cfg is empty, when I click open, it's not going to do anything. And let's pretend this doesn't exist, so we can't use this to get us back working with this project. What do we do? Well, all you have to do is quickly create a new game. Make it a blank project, because we don't really care about this project. This is just to get the other project open. And we'll just call this fix. And the game path can be the same path. So in my case, home deck, documents, RIB, select folder. So it's going to go in there. It's a blank project. Okay. Okay. So I've now got a blank project. So if I go back to my folder, there's the fix folder. And if we go in there, if we open this up, you can see the bare minimum that you need inside a game.cfg file for a project to open. We open this up, you can see it's got a general in brackets, a title, in this case fix, and a version 10.65. So all you have to do is copy this text, go back to your problem project, open this game.cfg, and then just paste that into there. And then obviously you'll need to change the title because it's not relevant. It's not called fix, it's called second game. And then leave everything as is. So save, go back to RPG in a Box. Second game should appear and we can open it, even with the bare minimum. So we've still got all our tiles, we've still got our maps. We can carry on where we left off. This is the most common problem I seem to be encountering with people that can't open their project. It's not the only problem, but it seems to be one that's happened at least a few times. So if this is your problem, hopefully this has helped and has allowed you to get back into your project. Okay, so now let's take a look at what if that isn't the problem. What if your game.cfg file is fine when you check it, it's still got all the information in it, how do you then get a project open that's got some actual problems with it, some real problems with the files? So again, as I mentioned at the very beginning, the really important thing to sort of remember and bear in mind with RPG in a Box projects is all the files are still there, they're loose and usable. So we just need to resolve what is causing the project to not open. So let's switch to the browser again, the File Explorer, and let's again say this is a problem project. It's currently not, so I can't sort of fully show it not opening with any other problem besides game.cfg, but let's at least imagine that this project has got a corrupt map or a corrupt module or something, and it's stopping this project from opening. How do we resolve that? We're going to use, again, this fix folder. Now, if you don't have a fix folder, it's very easy to create. Just go into RPG in a Box, create a blank project, call it fix, for example. Doesn't have, you can call it whatever you want, but call it fix. And we're going to use that folder to help us find out what's wrong with this project and then fix it. So how do we do that? So in RPG in a Box, we've got this one won't open for whatever reason. It gives us an error or whatever. But the fix one, because it's blank and pretty much brand new, it opens, okay? So what we can do, go into your problem project, go to the tiles folder and just copy the whole tiles folder. Then go to your fix folder. Make sure you're not in the project, so just quit to the game manager screen and paste over the top of the empty fix folder's tiles folder. And that will put your tiles into this project, okay? Now just the tiles. If we go into there, there's some tiles, but if we step back out to, let's say, characters, there's nothing in there. Dialogues, there's nothing in there. The only thing we've copied across are the tiles, okay? So then what you do is you go back to your project, you click the fix folder, the one that's only got the tiles in it, okay? And you click open. And it should now open the fix folder and bring in the tiles that you copied across. If that works, then you know that the problem isn't with the tile, because if it was, it would have presented you an error at that point. If when you try to open the fix folder, you get the same error as you get with your project, then it's highly likely then that it's a tile that's the problem, okay? If you do get an error, the best thing to do is to go back to the file browser, go into the fix folder, momentarily remove, just select everything and cut, and just put them, let's just say loose here for a mo. Just put them outside the folder, close the project again, open it again, and just make sure that it does open without the tiles, and then close it one more time. I know this might sound counterintuitive, but it's good to do this. Cut them one more time and put them back in again, and paste, and then try and open it again. And then if you get the same error again, it means it's happened twice when you've copied tiles across. So it's a pattern. If you can establish a pattern, that's definitely your problem. So now if this project was not to open, then it's definitely one of these tiles, okay? If it's one of these tiles, we'll get into that in a second, but what do you do if they're fine? If they're fine, then you move on to the next type of object. So then what we'd do is we'd exit to the game manager and we'd go back to our problem project, and I would go for the characters now. So I'd grab all of these, and I'd copy those, and then I'd go to my fix folder, go to my characters, and I'd paste those in. Then I would go back to the project, try and open the fix folder again now that it's got characters in it as well. So you rebuild your project up bit by bit inside the fix folder, okay? So open that, and if that opens fine, then that means, great, our characters were fine as well. However, if this time it had errored, then we probably know now it's the character, one of the characters has got a problem with it, okay? So I think you get the idea. What we're doing at this stage is we're just moving each type of asset in one by one, type by type. So start with tiles, then do characters, then do, start with tiles, Then I'd do objects, then do characters, then do maps. And then at that point, you pretty much can do whatever you want. You could do images next, then do scripts, then do dialogues, then do music, then do sounds. Just do every type, everything that's got a folder here. Do it one folder at a time, and keep opening your project each time you copy a type across, so that will then tell you whatever the last type was you copied across. Let's say it was maps, for example. If the last thing you copied across was maps, and then you couldn't open the project anymore, then it's highly likely that it's a map that is the problem. Okay, so it allows you to start to locate where your problem lies. Okay, now let's say that was the problem. Okay, let's say the map was the problem. So let's go to the File Explorer again, and let's just imagine I go to my problem project, and I go to maps, and I copy both of these across into the fix folder, maps, and I paste, and then I go back to my game manager, and I try and open fix, and let's pretend it doesn't open. It gives me an error. Okay, I now know that it's one of these two maps that's going to be the problem. Again, what I would do if the moment I get an error is I'd quit back, I'd move the maps out one more time, try and open the project again, make sure it does open without the maps again, then put the maps in again, check I get the same error. That establishes a pattern, so I now know, right, having maps in there is a problem. Okay, so but now I need to know, is it both the maps or is it one of the maps? Which map is causing the problem? So to work that out, what you then do, let's say we've established that maps is causing this project to not open. We go back to our maps folder in the fix folder, and we just take one of the maps out. So let's take overworld.scn out, and we'll just put it somewhere out of the way, outside all the project folders. And then we'll try and open this project again. Let's say that opened it. Okay, so that means we've established that it's this file here that's the problem. If it still gave the same error, then I'd swap the files out. I'd put that one back and take the other one out, and then see if it opens then. So that will help you then work out which of the files it is. Now, obviously, if you've got more than two, if you've got like 15 tiles or something, then you're going to have to do it, unfortunately, one tile at a time, opening your project each time until you've established which one it is that then stops the project opening. So, for example, let's do that, not fully, but just to show you how I would do it. Let's put that back for a second, just so we don't lose anything. So, maps. So let's take second game, for example. I've got a handful of characters here, so let's copy those from there, and let's just put them here. So what I would do is I'd take the bat first of all, I'd cut it, I'd go into fix, I'd go into characters. Let's say this is empty. I would paste the bat in, and then I would go open fix and check, right, bat's in, so that's fine. Back to game manager, back out to here. It is a bit of work, but you just move them one by one into the characters folder, open it up, make sure it opens, make sure you've got your new character, and you keep going until you get an error. So let's say the last thing I copy across is Justin. So I cut that, I go to fix, I go to characters, I put justin.scn in there, and then I go to open my project, and it comes up with an error. Then Justin is the problem. Justin model, ironically, is the problem. Okay? So what do you do when you now know what the problem is? Well, there's two things you could do. In this case, it's a bit problematic because I haven't got any other versions of these files. Luckily, these are the example games, so you could just re-download the example game. But if it was your work, chances are you'll have backups. So let me show you that. So if I go into second game, I don't think second game's going to have it because it's an example project. But if I go into quick game, for example, this is actually one of my projects. If we go into characters, for example, you can see these .backup files. Okay, every time you save a model in the voxel editor or a map in the map editor, it always saves the previous version when you click save as a .backup, and I believe it does it twice. So you'll get backup 1, which is the most recent older version, and backup 2 is the is the second older version, if you know what I mean. So this one will be more up to date than this one. This is the most up to date one. Yeah. So let's say, for example, base.justin.scn, you find out, right, that's the corrupt model. Then what you do is you just delete that. And then you just click this one, the backup.1, and then rename it and just remove the backup1 dot. And it will become a .scn again. And that will be, you'll lose your most recent change, whatever you did last to that model that made it corrupt. But at least you haven't lost the entire model. And then you can redo whatever the changes were you did. Okay. Bear in mind, there can also be a very odd glitch that happens sometimes with RPG in a Box, where sometimes all you need to do to fix a project is simply this. So check this as well before you do any of this stuff, really. If you find you've got a game.cfg file that isn't blank, so that's not the problem, then the other thing I would do is make a fix folder. So go into RPG in a Box, create a new game, call it whatever you want, make it a blank project, and save it. Then in your file explorer, go to your problem folder, just select everything, copy it, and paste it into the fix folder, the blank one. Sometimes that can just be enough, just to make a copy of your project, and sometimes it's just a freak glitch or something that's happened. So in that case, if that was to work, so let's paste those over and write in, let's do it for all. If that was to work, you'll have two projects. So if we open this project for a moment and quit back out, you might see multiple copies of the second game. But once you can get back into the project, you can delete one of the folders because it's exactly the same, right? It's the exact same duplicate folder. So whichever one doesn't open, you would delete that folder. Anyway, so I hope this video has offered at least some insight into ways that you can get your projects open again. Remember that you haven't lost your work. Your resources, your assets are still saved. They're still available to you. It's just for whatever reason, the project won't open. So here's a few ways that you can sort of troubleshoot your projects and hopefully find a resolution that allows you back into your project so you can continue where you left off with at least the most minimal amount of damage done to your project as possible. I should also point out very quickly before I end that if you're using the method where you have copied across a game.cfg file and emptied it out and everything, you will of course need to go back to your game configuration, reset your startup script and your player character back to the models that they should be. And as I say, you'll lose any global properties, so you'll need to set those up. And also any global event, if you had any scripts assigned to these, you'll just need to reassign them. Your scripts will still be there, you'll just need to reassign them back to the things that they're supposed to do. Hopefully that's helped. Hopefully that's given you some way to get your projects open again. So thanks for watching.